Most people probably wouldn't guess this about me, but wrestling has been one of my longest standing fandoms. I've watched since I was a kid. I grew up in the Attitude Era of Rock and Austin. I stuck around through much of the Ruthless Aggression era of John Cena and Batista. I've met some of the biggest stars in wrestling history, like Mick Foley and Kurt Angle. And I'm still here watching suplexes, promos, and chaos unfold in the ring every night. But I'll be honest, it's not something I've always talked about that openly. Not just because of the stigma that wrestling gets. You know, the whole it's fake, it's too over the top, it's just guys yelling at each other, all that kind of stuff. But also because I never quite felt like it was ever made for me. I didn't know I was queer growing up. I didn't have the language to know that I was asexual or aromantic until well into my adult years. But even before I had that language of who I am, I remember it just not clicking. You know, the parts of wrestling that, especially as a teenage male, I was supposed to like. I was never into the bikini contests or the lingerie matches or the over-sexualized storylines that defined how women were used in wrestling back then. As a teenager, I was supposedly the target demographic for that. But I wanted more Eddie Guerrero lying, cheating, and stealing. I wanted Rey Mysterio flying off the ropes. And I wanted Lita moonsaulting the guys who underestimated her. I wanted more Ashley Massaro coming out in her punk outfits and coming with Audio Slave playing. Because I love Chris Cornell's voice, and it was so cool to have a wrestler who had Audio Slave as her theme song. That's what I wanted. But now, years later, I get it. I didn't see myself in wrestling. Not because I knew I was queer and didn't feel represented, but because it just didn't reflect the parts of myself that I hadn't discovered yet. But that's changing. Today, we're seeing LGBTQIA+ wrestlers being celebrated, not sidelined. We're seeing characters own their identities on screen. We're seeing fans cheer with them instead of against them. So for my Pride Month finale video, I want to celebrate just how far wrestling has come and how it's starting to make space for people like me. Maybe even people like you.
And on this journey, one more love unraveled. I finally learned to love me for me.
So let's start here. If you watched WWE in the early 2000s, this segment was everywhere. It was from the 2002 season premiere of SmackDown, the infamous Billy and Chuck wedding. Two tag team partners who leaned just queer enough to titillate the audience. Until the big twist. They weren't actually gay. Which the fans definitely knew anyway, especially because we'd known Billy Gunn especially for many years. But it turned out it was all just a swerve, part of this huge SmackDown versus Raw storyline. It was a ratings ploy. This first clip we're going to look at is one of my earliest memories of how queerness was treated. Something to laugh at, something to fake for what wrestling calls heat, and something to backpedal from as quickly as possible. Because I think they found themselves in a corner, and the swerve was really the only way they could figure out how to get out of it.
I'm happy to ask you to be my tag team partner permanently.
And commitment is a very special thing. It doesn't matter if it lasts.
This is Billy and Chuck. That's their manager, Rico. The woman is Stephanie McMahon, the general manager of SmackDown. Okay, pay attention to this face. This is Billy Gunn, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, but we're not done talking about him in this video after this segment. It's actually really important that we keep an eye on him.
3 minutes. Oh no! It's Eric Bischoff, the Raw general manager.
So that was Eric Bischoff, the general manager, the boss of Monday Night Raw, the opposing show. And he had been the opposing boss for WCW years earlier. So this all just wound up tying into a big storyline and being a whole invasion sort of thing.
Bischoff's got Stephanie! Oh my God! It's Bischoff!
This is the big invasion thing. And then, of course, it ends in assaulting a woman. Keep in mind, again, this is storyline. She wasn't actually hurt. But we don't want to emulate that. Why would we want to emulate that?
Protect their general manager. Raw has invaded
And for what?
SmackDown.
Like I said, neither Billy Gunn nor Chuck Palumbo were gay. But the storyline used queerness for shock and spectacle. And at the time, that was kind of the norm. But that's what makes what ends up happening, granted, a number of years later, but where we're at right now, much more powerful. Granted, there were some landmark moments in between where I'm fast forwarding to, but I'm going to jump to 2021 for a moment, to WWE's Instagram, where Toni Storm, very casually and confidently, comes out as bisexual during a Pride takeover on their Instagram page.
That I would be taking over the Instagram for Pride Month. I noticed a lot of people were like, Toni, are you just an ally? Are you in the community? You know, what's going on over here? And
a lot of these questions.
Well, I guess now's a good time to say, well, both. I'm an ally, and I can't exactly say that I'm straight either.
See, that little laugh, I feel like, is so relatable for so many of us when we are trying to find the words to come out. It's that little bit of an uncomfortable laugh, a little bit of a nervous laugh, but I feel like it's also one of the most relatable things.
I'm bi, and it feels good to say, and it's something I've been really comfortable with for a long time. I just never really expressed it. I don't know. I just never really found the right time, and it's Pride Month, and I'm on your Instagram, so now's a good time, I guess.
And again, that little chuckle at the end. I absolutely adore Toni Storm, and this took guts. It's so amazing that she felt confident to do that in that moment. And just wait until you see how far she's come. And where is she now? Well, she's no longer with WWE, but she is with another company called AEW, All Elite Wrestling. And she's created this wildly iconic, timeless Toni Storm character, this old Hollywood starlet with a lot of queer energy turned up to 11. And it's given us a lot of amazing and fun moments, and a lot of empowering moments like this one.
Oh, with the body scissors, this is going to be it. That is it. And there it is.
Here's your winner, the AEW Women's World Champion, Timeless Toni Storm.
At Double or Nothing, Toni Storm awaits the winner of...
That is her manager, Luther, who's kind of I guess he's kind of like a butler, servant type of character for her, but he's their manager in a way.
A great win for Toni Storm, great showing for Lady Frost as well. What a matchup to kick off Collision.
Absolutely, man. And what a matchup. The champ's got the mic.
This whore you all adore.
I love it.
This slut you can't rebut. This tramp is still the champ.
Her little rhymes are just hysterical.
My God, what a frosty little slop tart.
I love it. Who
Now
talks
I know
like
there's
this?
a fresh batch of slop tarts back there, trying to take a shot at this wide load that holds the gold. Yes, that's
You can
right.
even hear some people chuckling.
Everyone's
It's great.
coming for Toni Storm, but you've got it all wrong, darling. Toni Storm comes for everybody.
Okay, what a line. What a line. Given her real world bisexuality is, honestly, I love when somebody can make that kind of a joke with their own identity, and it empowers
so
them
if your
further.
tits can take the hits, then I am not a hard woman to find. I could be right here. I could be over here. Excuse me. I could be right here next to this man. I could be over here. Excuse me. I could be right here with this lovely gentleman.
Hello. I love
I could
that
be right
guy.
here pretending to be asleep. No. I'm gonna be right here on this bloody broad walk.
Where is she going?
Down to the
And one thing I know is for sure. I will be ready. I will be sweaty. I am here and I am queer. And I will always be timeless.
The Women's World Champion on the boardwalk with Lucy.
What a world we can live in where a world champion wrestler can utter the words, "I am here and I am queer," as part of their promo. What an amazing time. And it's not a joke. It's a celebration. She owns the space. The crowd cheers for her. Yeah, wrestling is camp. And Toni Storm is giving it to us with pride. Now let's talk about Anthony Bowens, one half of the now unfortunately broken up tag team The Acclaimed, although he's doing amazing things on his own. And he's openly gay. But this moment that we're about to watch, it deserves all the spotlight, especially given someone you might recognize making an appearance in it.
You've ever seen what we do? If you haven't, I think you're the only one on the planet. But we have the greatest rapper in the world.
Do you recognize the guy in the middle, the guy with the microphone? Does he look a little familiar, maybe? Maybe a few years later? Yeah. That's Billy Gunn. That's Billy Gunn of that Billy and Chuck segment from 2002. And here he is 22 years later, still in the business. And he's in a moment that we're going to talk about yet again, but for a very, very different reason.
That's kind of, right? Well, that's kind of our thing. Like, he raps and he does his thing, and I, well, do my thing.
Yeah, you do. But, guys, you know what? I know you guys are great rappers. Matt Capta, rap master, you can rap good, I can rap faster. If we teamed up, I've had this whole place headed for the best. Fill him with the venom, fill him with the venom, fill him with the venom, and eliminate him. Otherwise, I made him. I don't want to hurt him, but I didn't make a federation burden again.
I skipped most of her
I'm
rap.
that good, baby.
Her whole gimmick is purposely that she's a bad artist.
You need a lady. Hey, Bowens.
Do they?
Baby. It's pretty clear that you're into me.
I don't think so.
I love it. Even Chris Jericho on commentary. I don't think so. I love it. Even the commentators are in on it. In a fun way. That's
If we teamed up,
wonderful.
we'd be the hottest couple on TV. We'd go on the cutest dates and maybe have a family.
All right, cut this. Enough of this nonsense. wait a minute.
Can't do that. Anthony Bowens is taken.
Did
Anthony
you
Bowens
just
is
say
taken. That's right, he
that
is.
You think I'm into you?
Duh.
Very, very serious question. Did you get kicked too many times in the head by a kangaroo when you were a kid? Because I don't know if you can see my gear, lady.
weird line.
I'm gay.
I love it. And the crowd pops. And look at Billy Gunn throws his arms up in the air in celebration. And you see Max Caster, the other half of the Acclaimed, celebrating as well.
And he's taken. Yes.
And he's taken. Listen to the crowd. They're chanting, "He's gay," in a celebration.
Crowd loves it.
That crowd wasn't booing or laughing. They were chanting. And they were doing it with love. This wasn't just a throwaway segment. It was genuinely a celebration of identity. And I love that the closest person standing next to Bowens is Billy Gunn. The same man from that fake gay wedding 22 years earlier. This whole thing was full circle. In a different company. Only this time, it's not a storyline. It's real. And that makes it so much more impactful. Sticking with AEW for a moment, let's talk about Speedball Bailey. Non-binary, fierce as hell in the ring, and refreshingly open about identity in a way that doesn't feel performative. Just really honest. So let's check out this Hey EW segment with RJ City, where they're talking about pronouns.
You are openly non-binary.
Yes.
More shades of gray. And your preferred pronouns are he, him, and they, them.
Yes.
Don't you think you're hogging the pronouns a little?
Okay. Before you get upset at RJ City, it's in his character. He's supposed to be a little bit of a heel, but listen to how Bailey responds to that.
No, in fact, I want everyone to be able to share and use all pronouns.
Sure.
I understand that I look like a dude, I present as a dude, that's fine. If you want to call me T, I don't mind. I want everyone to use they, them pronouns for everyone until they know their preferred pronouns. That is how I would like it to be.
I love that. I honestly feel the same way. If you do make your pronoun known to me, or if I feel comfortable asking you your pronoun, that's one thing. But if I don't know you well enough to know,
I just think, you can't have them all. These people who are they, them, and just they, them, and I feel like you're encroaching on their turf. Because if you're a he, him, and a they, them, I'm going to default to he, him.
That's fine. Fair. Again, whatever
This is about they, them, not he, him.
If you see me as more feminine and you want to go she, I won't have a problem with that either.
But you didn't list that.
I didn't
You
list
can't
that.
have them all. You got to pick. I think it's unfair to the they, thems. And quite frankly, I don't prefer your pronouns.
Fair? Fair.
You have a wife named Veda Scott.
I do.
Who has done commentary for AEW in the past. Her preferred pronouns are she, her, and they, them.
Yes.
A really greedy couple, huh?
Correct.
You just got to have them all.
Bailey just plays into it now.
What did the priest say when he married you?
It was a thing. So our priest, which is actually in my telephone background, which I can show you, my lock screen.
This is so wholesome.
As you can see here.
And he's a Elvis impersonator?
He's Elvis.
That's what he looks like? Post-death?
His
He's
name?
not the freshest looking Elvis.
He said, what did he say? Partners in love and in life. Which he was like, okay, this is my first non-binary wedding. I want to make sure I get things right. I'm not going to say I pronounce you man and wife. That doesn't work. So how about, and he had thought of this. And he presented it. How about partners in love and life? I was like, that sounds great. That's perfect. That's what we are. And his name was Travis, and he knows Chris Jericho.
Really?
Someone
That doesn't
puts that
surprise me.
thought into
I think
it.
Jericho knows like every Elvis impersonator.
I love that their wedding official put that kind of thought into it and asked that kind of question. We should all put thought into how we present anyone. And Bailey's wife, Veda Scott, as mentioned, is also a non-binary person and a wrestling commentator. And honestly, what a power couple. It's beautiful seeing pronouns discussed so naturally in a space like wrestling like this. And there's so much more to celebrate. So I want to give a quick shout out to a few more LGBTQIA+ stars making waves across the industry. People like Nyla Rose, a trans woman, the very first AEW Women's World Champion, and absolutely dominant. Layla Hirsch, recently married to her wife, proving there's room for love both in and outside the ring. Sonya Deville, WWE's first out lesbian, always representing with strength and pride. Piper Niven, Kira Hogan, Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai, Tegan Knox, Mercedes Martinez, Diamante, all openly part of the community and adding depth to the roster. And Fred Rosser, formerly known as Darren Young, who infamously came out to TMZ unexpectedly at an airport when asked about openly gay wrestling. He said, well, I mean, I'm a wrestler and I'll let you know I'm gay. They asked if gay wrestlers would be comfortable in the industry. That was his response. That was it. And it was beautiful. It's not a side story anymore. It's becoming part of the story, and that is really worth celebrating. And we can't talk about progress without acknowledging some of the big allies who have massive platforms and are using them to offer their support. Wrestlers like Kenny Omega, who's been loud and proud with his support for trans rights. And of course, the voice of the voiceless, CM Punk. Always outspoken, often very controversial, but never shy about waving his trans flag gear and showing up for the lgbtqia 2S+ community. These wrestlers have massive platforms, and when they use them to support us, that matters. That resonates. Wrestling has always been larger than life, and for a long time, queerness in wrestling was either the punchline, the villain, or erased completely. Characters like Goldust were designed to make people uncomfortable. Coded as queer to provoke the crowd, but not to empower anyone. But today, when someone says, "I'm gay" in the ring, the crowd chants it. When someone says, "I'm here and I'm queer," it goes viral for all the right reasons. And when a wrestler comes out, on screen or off, fans celebrate them. That shift, it matters. It shows that queerness isn't just accepted, it's embraced. It's part of the story and part of the spectacle. And for anyone who's ever felt like they didn't belong in spaces like this, whether because they're queer, ace, trans, or just different, that kind of visibility can be everything. Now, wrestling is far from perfect, but we've seen real progress taking place. And honestly, it makes being a fan so much more fun. I didn't grow up with queer or ace representation in wrestling, but I'm watching it show up now. In pride-themed promos, real-life couples, pronoun conversations, title matches, and crowds chanting in support. And even if I didn't get to see that as a kid, I'm so glad that others do now. Because no matter how chaotic or campy or action-packed wrestling is, it's still storytelling. Wrestling's always had its fair share of chaos. Undead wizards, gold medalists driving milk trucks into arenas, and whatever Danhausen is. But beneath all that, it reflects the real world in so many ways. And when you see someone that looks like you in that story, whether you're gay, ace, trans, bi, or just figuring things out, it reminds you that you belong and that you're a part of this world too. This is the finale of my Pride Month video series, and I honestly can't think of a better way to wrap it up than by celebrating a fandom that's been part of me since I was 8 years old, and is finally starting to feel like it sees me back. Because when you go from queer-coded villains and objectified women to wrestlers proudly saying, "I'm gay," or "I'm non-binary," or "I'm here and I'm queer," and hearing the crowd cheer that, that's not just progress. That's power. Now, before you head out, I'd love to know, is there a fandom, a hobby, or an interest that you've always loved but you don't really talk about? Or maybe a space where you'd love to see more queer or ace representation? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what's important to you and where you want to see yourself reflected. And if this video resonated with you, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it out, and subscribe for more content like this. And remember that you can help support my channel and all the activism that I do by simply interacting with videos. But if you'd like to do more, you can check out my merch shop with examples of my creations down below. You can also order a copy of my book, Limitless, Poetry of an Aromantic and Asexual Journey, which I'm thrilled to announce to all of you has officially sold over 500 copies, which is an incredible feat for a self-published book, especially in queer poetry. So thank you to everyone who has supported this book. It means the world to me. I hope you all have a safe, happy, and affirming days left of June. But remember, it doesn't have to be June to be proud of who you are. Be good to each other and to yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.